Moving on to Chapter 16 of CGST Act, liability to pay in certain cases. Section 85 talks about liability in case of transfer of business. 86, liability of agent and principal. 87, liability in case of amalgamation or merger of companies. Liability in case of company in liquidation is dealt by 88. 89, liability of directors of private company. 90, liability of partners of firm to pay taxes. 91, liability of guardians, trustees, etc. 92, liability of court of wards, etc. Special provisions regarding liability to pay tax, interest or penalty in certain cases is covered under section 93, and section 94 talks about liability in other cases. Now for after demand and recoveries chapter, we have to determine who has to pay the tax dues to the government, who is liable to pay in case of special circumstances. Section 85 is one such scenario where liability in case of transfer of business. So if there is a transfer of business, who is liable to pay? Whether transferor is liable to pay the dues or whether the transfer is liable to pay the dues. So the law says both the transferor and transferee are liable for dues determined before transfer, and for supplies post transfer the transferee is liable and he has to amend the registration accordingly. So if there are transactions of agent and principal, section 86 deals with that case, who is liable to pay. Both the principal and agent are jointly and severally liable to pay. Section 87, liability in case of amalgamation or merger of companies. So in case of amalgamation or merger of companies, who is liable to pay the tax dues? So if the NCLT order is received today but it is effective from a retrospective date, then from that retrospective date till the date of order, whatever transactions has happened, that has to be reported under respective company's head only. Till the date of order, those two companies would be treated as a distinct companies, and registration cancellation will also be effective only from the date of order. It will not be effective from the retrospective date. GST registration has to be cancelled only from the date of order. Section 88, liability in case of company in liquidation. Liquidator has to intimate his appointment to commissioner within 30 days, and commissioner will have to notify the liquidator within 3 months of his intimation what is the amount required or amount sufficient to pay the tax dues. And if private company is wound up and dues cannot be recovered, in that case directors will be jointly and severally liable. But if the directors are very genuine and there is no fault of directors, then they will not be liable. If they prove their genuineness, then they will not be liable. Similarly, section 89 talks about liability of directors of private company in normal cases, not in liquidation. Private companies, if the dues cannot be recovered, directors will be jointly and severally liable unless directors proves their genuineness. So if they prove that they are genuine, then they will not be able to recover it from the directors. And private company, if it is converted into public company, for the dues of private company, subsection 1 shall not apply to directors of such private company. Any personal penalty can be recovered from director, but not any other case. Liability of partners of firm to pay taxes. Firm, each of the partners of the firm are jointly and severally liable, and if a partner retires, he or the firm has to intimate to commissioner, otherwise he will liable till the date of intimation. If he is intimating, then he is only liable till the date of retirement, but if he doesn't intimate within 1 month from the date of retirement, he will be liable till the date of intimation for the tax dues also. Section 91, liability of guardians, trustees, etc. Liability is on guardian, trustee or agent. Liability of court of wards, when the court of wards are appointed for estates, then if there is any liability of tax dues, then it can be recoverable from court of wards. Section 93 talks about special provisions regarding liability to pay tax, interest or penalty in certain cases. Save insolvency bankruptcy code, where a person dies, then there could be two scenarios where the legal representative carries on business or the business might get discontinued. In case the legal representative is carrying on his business, then legal representative is liable to pay the tax dues. And if the business is discontinued, then legal representative will be liable only to the extent of estate. In case of HUS or association of persons, when the property is partitioned, each member will be jointly and severally liable only to the dues up to the time of partition. And similarly, if firm is dissolved, then each partner will be jointly and severally be liable for the dues up to dissolution. In case the guardianship or trust is terminated, then the ward or beneficiary will be liable for the dues up to the termination. Section 94, liability in other cases. In case of firm, association, person, HUF, if they discontinue the business, then the dues up to the discontinuance can be determined even after the discontinuance also, but every partner or member will be jointly and severally liable even if the determination is happening prior to discontinuation or after the discontinuation. So when they are calculating the dues is not a matter of concern, but whoever is the partner or member till the date of discontinuation, they will be jointly and severally be liable. And if there is a change in constitution of firm or AOP, partners or members before and after, both partners or members before and after will be jointly and severally liable. And any references to discontinuance in subsection 1 will also be applicable for dissolution or partition also. So moving on to chapter 17, advance ruling. Normally orders are passed and you appeal further, and then a judgment will be delivered either in favor of you or against you, and then you further appeal till Supreme Court. But advance ruling is where you have a question on certain matters and you can file an application and get a ruling whether it is favorable to you or against you. And you can also appeal further on advance ruling also, which is AAR, Appellate Authority for Advance Ruling. So what are the questions you can ask in advance ruling? You can ask a question on classification, applicability of notification, time and value of supply, input tax credit, liability, registration, or any question on supply related matters. So you have to make an application in the prescribed form and manner, and the advance ruling authority under SGST or UTGST will be deemed to be advance ruling authority for the whole state or union territory. Section 98 talks about procedure on receipt of application. So if you have a question on A to G, which is on 7 different matters, and if you already filed an application for advance ruling, then on receipt of your application, the application will be forwarded to concerned officer, and the AAR, which we call it as a AAR, the AAR will call for records, and it has to be returned as soon as possible. And AAR, after examining, he will either admit your application or reject the application. And if it doesn't admit your application, then it has to be rejected. But before rejecting, they have to give you an opportunity of being heard, and they shall provide what are the reasons for rejections specified in the order. And a copy of such order will be given to applicant and concerned officer. And if it is admitted, then advance ruling has to be pronounced on the question which is asked by the applicant. And if members are differing, then that point has to be stated and it has to be referred to AAR, which is Appellate Authority for Advance Ruling, for hearing and decision. And otherwise the AAR has to pass an order within 90 days from the receipt of the application, and a copy of ruling has to be given to applicant, concerned officer, and jurisdictional officer. Appellate Authority for Advance Ruling, AAR. The AAR under SGST or UTGST will be deemed to be AAR for the entire state or union territory. And any appeal to Appellate Authority is dealt under section 100. Applicant, concerned officer, or jurisdictional officer may appeal to AAR, and you have to file the appeal within 30 days from the AAR order communication, and provided sufficient cause is there, that period can be extended by another 30 days. And every appeal shall be in the prescribed manner, and fee has to be paid. Section 101, orders of Appellate Authority. Now the AAR may confirm the AAR order, or he may modify the AAR order, or he can cancel the AAR order also, and that order has to be passed within 90 days of appeal. And if members are differing, deemed that there is no advance ruling, and if order is passed, then that copy of ruling has to be given to applicant, concerned officer, jurisdictional officer, and AAR. Section 102, rectification of advance ruling. If there is any error apparent on the face of record, then that can be rectified by AAR or AAR within 6 months. They may amend the order passed under section 98 or section 101. Section 103, applicability of advance ruling. The advance ruling is always binding on the applicant, concerned officer, or jurisdictional officer. It is binding unless law is changing or facts or circumstances are changing. Section 104, advance ruling to be void in certain circumstances. If the advance ruling is obtained by fraud or suppression of facts or misrepresentation of facts, then the ruling will be void ab initio, provided no order will be passed without opportunity of being heard, and the period from date of advance ruling and ending with the date of order shall be excluded for calculating the periods under 73 and 74. A copy of order will be given to applicant, concerned officer, and jurisdictional officer. Section 105, powers of authority and appellate authority. AAR or AAR will have all the powers of civil court regarding discovery and inspection, enforcing attendance and examining on oath, issuing commissions, and compelling production of books of accounts. Every proceeding before AAR or AAR shall be deemed to be judicial proceeding, and Section 106 talks about procedure of authority and appellate authority. They have the power to regulate their own